So we're here to solve the Sunday Stumper by Murat and Tonta called Stars. It's a star battle variation with these gray shapes, 9 of them in the grid, including those cut off by the sides. The gray cells can only take 2, and in a 3-star puzzle by region, that means we'll always have 1 white or maybe 3 whites and a maximum of 1 gray in any space. So in the center region that has just a single option for a white, that must be used by a star. In this case, we're using a mine and a double mine just based off the interface. We have to take one of these, but can't take both of these white stars here, and that means that there won't be space for 2 more in this column, so these gray cells are quickly eliminated, and actually that will mean that there's a 2 coming across in the space. Going to one of the things that did, it actually finished this middle row. We don't know if the 2 is over on the left or right, but it's going to finish those out. In this tiny region, we have to put 2 placements, 1 in gray, 1 in white. This will finish the other grays. In this space down here, we've got at least 2 that are going to be across this row in this T shape, which means that we can't take another gray outside of that T shape. Marking those in gives a key constraint down here. So this is a 5-cell region. It can take 1, 2 spots. One will have to be white, the other will be gray. That cancels off these cells. Marking those in, we have this region which has 1, 2 that could come in white, so we'll always have to take one of these grays, so we can't take these in white to make that work. I'm seeing if there's anything more down in the bottom. There's something pretty subtle, but this looks like it's going to be important, and it's going to come from one thing I do, which is scan the puzzle, sort of moving up rows, and by the time I have the bottom 5 rows marked, there's something sort of curious for me. I have 1 region, 2 regions, 3 regions, 4 regions, 5 regions, and just 1 cell that's not in those bottom 5 rows. And if I think about it, if I don't use this cell, then everything else outside of this space will have to be marked off. So all these will be marked off. And that would actually mean I have to put 3 stars in these 2 cells, and I can't do that. So one thing that this single outie from the bottom 5 rows means is that we're going to have to put some stars coming in from other regions, and this will have to be a double star. So that's a really key deduction at this point, and it's going to force some placements pretty fast. It's going to give this double mine here. It's going to actually give this double mine up here. That will cancel these grays. It looks like that now forces a double mine in one of these cells, which will put a double mine here. Got one that's going to go there. In this T shape, we have sort of 2 options. We could do something like this with all in white, or we've got any option that has this double cell used, but I will always have to take one of these 2 cells, and that's going to clear a lot around this 2. I'm just going to put in a single cell in this white. We're going to have a white with a gray, so get that marked in. That's doing some more now on the right side. It actually is making the columns look interesting, and there's a whole region I've ignored, which I'm going to come to pretty quickly, so don't think I'm not missing the upper right corner. I've got these 4 regions in red, and they only have these 2 cells now that stick out. They used to have these cells, but they've been canceled. So keeping track of this red side looks like something I want to do, but let's start by just going to this obvious corner, which from standard star battle rules will have to take this mine up here. We've got 2 coming across in gray, so that's going to actually cancel the remaining spots over here and fill out this row, puts a star down here. And these 2 will cancel this gray, force a gray in this cell. We're going to have 1 here, 1 in this space. So starting to really pack these columns. I think a key consideration, though, actually now is going to be this region up here. And so it's going to need to have a white cell. And now I'll mark off this gray, and then it's going to need to have 1 of these 2 gray cells. Notice if I took this, I would take these 2, and that would now put 4 in the row. So this is not usable. This is where the white cell goes. This is where 2 cells go. And now I think I've triggered something, which is going to have me come back to what's in red. So remember, except for these 2 cells, everything in these 4 regions is in only the right 4 columns. But we've now cut in with 2 mines from this other region in the same way we're cutting with mines down here. What that means is 2 in means 2 out. I must put 2 mines in the space or I'm not going to be able to get a valid count of stars in these rightmost columns. That cancels these grays down here, puts a force 2 into the spot, which will cancel this option. Canceling the cell actually means this is 1 with 2, and that will cancel this gray option. So put again this gray option, puts 2 stars here. That cancels these grays, puts 2 stars here. This center column has to have a star in one of these 2 cells, but this region has to have a star in one of the ones I've marked. These grays come down, eliminate here. This row is finished. So this moves up. Let's see. We're going to have, from this, some more grays we can eliminate. I'm going to see if we can actually get a key count. So we have 2 cells left for the last mine in this column, so these aren't usable. Do I actually know which of these it is yet? I don't think I do, but this column is finished. We'll mark that off. This column is finished. We have one of these 2 cells used. We've got some more in the space. So I think we're getting close to a tipping point, but not yet there. This gray actually marks off these cells, and 2 in this row already marks off these. So we're getting to where we're going to need one of these 2 in white. The gray already in this row and the gray in this column eliminates these. So I think I've got a count of mines in a region that's going to be important. So one of these pink cells is, actually both of these pink cells, no, sorry, there's 2 down here. One of these is a star, and I have 2 spots left for the last star in that big region. So 3 total in the region, 1 in pink, and then these spots. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over in that space. So these other can get marked off. In this region, I have 1 star in orange, and I need to think about where the others go. Well, this row, this 5th row, only has this last spot for it. That finishes actually this column, moves this star up. This actually puts a 4th star for this column, which eliminates these, and actually forces this in pink, which moves this down, cancels some others. This column now has just this option. So we're getting some good eliminations. We have this 3rd column is actually now pretty limited. I've got 2 open cells and 1 placed star, so I've got to place the stars in both remaining cells. That moves this down. This column is finished, but this 4th column needs to take a star here. This region is going to get a star in one of these 3 cells, but that moves this over. We now have 1 in this row with either 1 more or 2 more, but to get up to 3, we're going to have to take that gray, which puts a star in this last white cell in this region. This column needs 1 here to finish it out. This space is done. We've got 2 in this bottom row, so the 2 has to come up and puts a star down here. And we finish the grid. So a really good workout, some complex deductions throughout. The 3-star constraint within regions gave a nice 1 + 2 rule that worked in most regions. There were a few regions that were 1 + 1 + 1. But tracking gray cells got us started. Seeing this division of the bottom 5 rows in the grid with 1 out cell, and eventually these 4 rightmost columns with this out set, where 2 and 2 and 2 with 1 and 1 matching were key. And then there are probably a set of ways to finish out the puzzle, but marking some of these either or cells and then figuring out how the regions got 3 units placed into them was my path. So hopefully you got something through this video, and some tips and tricks you can take to future puzzles. More of this variation will be in an upcoming book by Murat and Jinhu On called Star Battle 2. So look forward to that, and we'll see you again soon.